Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. This creation, the creatures, various manifestations, the difference there between the various levels of actions, various levels of thinking, everything is a very stupendous masterpiece of the creator of the world. And whenever we make some art piece, there is a method by which we will make a rough format, then it will be designed and it will be stabilized to give the exact, precise and accurate structure. This is known as a rough sketch. And in the creation of God, instead of a rough sketch, we used to have a tough sketch. If you have soft and edible, tasty articles, they are not cooked or processed in edible, tasty and soft utensils. Whatever that is an edible, however soft it may be and however processing it may be, they are processed by means of hard and tolerant utensils and tolerant forces. So with heavy force and with the tolerant substances only, we used to make the process of cookery. Like that, the creation of the world is also made by a tough process to run a smooth life. So to run a life with lubrication, to run a life with rejoicement, to run a life with eternal and real meaning of comfort, the base is a tough exercise. So it is a tough sketchwork of God, like the rough sketchwork of artists. On this basis, our system of knowledge, they have created a compound structure which was manifested by four main pillars, which are known as the Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which everybody knows and everybody they have quoted earlier. These four pillars, they are known as Arthas, Purusharthas. What do you mean by Purushartha? Sreshtaihi, Purushaihi, Architaha, Vishayaha, Purusharthaha, Itarayapi, Arthanayaha, Vishayaha, Purusharthaha. That which is aimed by great persons, noblest persons, they are known as Purusharthas. That which is to be followed by all members of the society for a harmonious and prosperous living is known as Purushartha. The first Purushartha, which I have already told, that gives the meaning that it is naturally, spontaneously in the thought and practice of the elite and noble. Second thing is a conditional provision that emphasizes that everybody should follow the same thing. First thing is natural, just as birds they do fly naturally, and we do with mechanism, by biomimetics. Likewise, great souls, they naturally they have this emergence, and others people like us, those who are in the process of maturity and manifestation, we have to undergo several rigorous exercises and we have to develop this skill at all. So, this is to be developed by us, which has been well developed by our ancestors. That is the meaning of Purushartha. And that which is not properly developed instead of Purusharthas, we have to call them, just as we see the contemporary society, it is full of Purusha Anarthas. Like Purusharthas, it is Purusha Anarthas. So, that which is systematic, that which is productive, that which is all encompassing, that is Purushartha. That which is irregular, that which is disharmonious, that which is pernicious to the social harmony and development is Purusha Anarthas. So we have to understand this point of difference between Artha and Anartha. Then apart from which, we have to take some approaches to Purusharthas. There are hundreds of approaches to Purushartha's definition and interrelativism as well as interchangeability. I just quote three theories. The first theory says that it is random regulation theory. They say that Artha and Kama, they are irregular and random. The outsources, that is, the various types of resources in different forms in the society or in the environment, they are random in nature, they don't have proper intelligence. So they are random. We, having the instinctive drive known as Kama, we have intelligence but not in our control. So, both forces of external sources, resources in the form of Artha and internal resources in the form of Kama, both are random forces. So, to regulate and guide those forces, just as we are having the grip of a horse in which we are driving, that too if it is a wild horse, certainly we must have a stronger grip and efficient practice. So, to have a regulatory grip on these random forces, Dharma and Moksha are meant. So, Dharma has a grip and Moksha has a grip. Dharma has a foundation grip and moksha has a goal grip. So it is ontology and that is teleology which we used to talk in all subjects. What is the starting and what is the ending? This is the first theory. Then the second theory is couplet theory. That is, artha must be guided by dharma and kama must lead us to moksha. This is the second theory. Then there is a third theory also, it is known as quadrant theory, we used to call it as. The first half of the life being a brahmachari, he must know about the dharma. And whenever he enters into the domestic life or practical life or social connectivity, he must enter into artha vijnana or artha prayoga where he earns wealth by proper methodologies. And after earning knowledge on the basis of which resources are constructed, one has to rejoice the reasonable life with his fellow beings and the other co-inhabitants of the society is kama. Then after gradually making himself mature to go for liberation and also guiding others for liberation, one should go for moksha. So this is the third theory. There are hundreds of theories in which we can correlate or interrelate these things, and because of brevity we have to just time shortage that has made us to simplify. These things are the three examples. And taking dharma, what is dharma? Dharma is the base for everything, and in Purusharthas we can interchange everything. That is dharma, dharma for artha, and there is a regulation or dharma for kama, there is a regulation for moksha. If you take artha, there is artha, dharma artha, kama artha and moksha artha. If you say kama, then there is dharma kama, artha kama, moksha kama. If you say moksha, dharma rupena moksha, artha rupena moksha, then kama rupena moksha. Kama becomes moksha when it becomes Bhagavat Prema or divine love. Artha becomes moksha when you embrace everybody and do beneficence. And dharma leads you to the pathway of liberation if you strongly, unconditionally have the clutches of dharma by means of your spontaneous, casual formation, not due to any compulsion or circumstantial coercion. So these type of various types of interrelativities have been explained in Shastras. Dharana dharma mityahuhu, dharmo dharayati prajaha. That is the etymological derivation. That which sustains everything is dharma. This is the bottle and it carries the water. And these water particles are sustained by this bottle. This bottle is sustained by the table. Table is sustained by the platform or the stage. It is sustained by the foundation. If you go for a hierarchy of various sustainabilities or sustenance or substratum, the whole universe and universal functions are sustained by dharma or morality, and God is the personification of the dharma. So we used to call dharma by different methodologies. In non-living beings we used to call it as chemical binding, bondage, covalent bond, then atomic infinity, atomic affinity, then particles unity, particles binding. We used to call it in different names in science and various things. So there is a rule that makes the innate binding in all living and non-living creatures. So all living and non-living, that is insentient and sentient substances, they have a binding. Whether it is a rule of binding of physics, whether there is a rule of binding of biology, whether there is a chemical bondage, whether there is a psychological, intellectual or cultural, whatever may be the types of bondages that you prefer and call by names, all the bondages are instilled, instigated and invigorated by a primordial force which is known as dharma. So this is the essence of dharma, and dharma binds everything. So now we used to prove that dharma by universal consciousness. At Princeton University they made a research that at the time of conspicuous disasters or turn-ups in the world, which are very conspicuous, at the time of any alert or even at the time of any impact, even the persons, those who are not knowing or not subjected to the consequences, they have registered or recorded mechanically that there is an excitation graph variation. There is an excitation graph variation in all the living beings, irrespective of their nativity, subjectivity, proximity and observational experiences. Still they used to have all denizens of this globe, they had an impact, they used to have an impact at the time of both the alert and impact of anything that happens, both beneficial or maleficial activities. That is global consciousness. Now we have antibiotic resistance. I used to say in one seminar I addressed, all these people, those who are working with drugs, pharmacology, pathogenesis and innumerable things, spending millions of dollars, they strive to develop resistance. But the pathogens, they have developed their own intelligence, automatic self-security mechanism or a biological instinct, even you can defame it. By that they secrete something by which they get this antibiotic resistance without any